Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favourite movies of 2012, the science fiction action blockbuster Battleship. And the film starts in 2006 with the completion of a communications array on Oahu, which is designed for broadcasting a signal powerful enough to contact extraterrestrial life. Almost everyone at the launch is excited about the possibilities that might come from contact with another species. The one exception to this is scientist Cal Zapata, who is rather more focused on the potential that any species capable of travelling between solar systems, and therefore responding to our call, would have far greater technology than we do, and there's no guarantee that they'd be friendly. Meanwhile, at the bar down the road, Alex Hopper's impetuous and inebriated efforts to impress a young woman end in a property damage disaster. Alex's older brother manages to get him out of any criminal charges, but only on the condition that Alex join the US Navy. 5 years later, Alex actually managed to get the girl, but he hasn't exactly changed his ways. He's on the verge of getting cashiered from the Navy. In fact, he'd already be out the door if there wasn't a major multinational exercise about to begin. There isn't time to change crews at this late stage. Of course, wouldn't you know it, those more technologically advanced aliens choose this as the very moment to finally show up. After landing in the Pacific Ocean, they create a force field to seal off the island of Oahu from the rest of the world, including most of the international fleet. However, a force of 3 destroyers, one of which of course is the ship on which Alex Hopper is serving, end up inside the field. Will Hopper have to overcome his self-destructive impulses and find hidden reserves of strength and cunning to keep his crew alive? Well, I don't have much chance of trouble guessing the correct answer to that question. The bigger question, of course, is it a fun ride to get there? Now, I remember back when this movie was first coming to the cinemas that every time I told someone I was planning to see it, they would look confused and say, "The Rihanna movie?" As if the singer's presence in the cast was somehow the film's most notable characteristic. I guess it was her first big big screen role, but she's hardly the first singer to transition to acting, or vice versa for that matter. In any case, Rihanna is perfectly serviceable in her role here, but Battleship failed to find either critical or commercial success. One reviewer opined that only the less demanding audience could possibly enjoy the film, and the movie's financiers apparently lost something of the order of $150 million on the project. But, as I already said, despite all this, Battleship was among my favourite cinema experiences of 2012. The only movie I'd probably put ahead of it is Avengers. So, let's talk about why I liked the film so much. And the number one thing is that Battleship is a film with a very specific aesthetic, one of unabashed, over-the-top excess and weapons-grade hokum, and it enthusiastically embraces every aspect of that aesthetic in its 2-hour runtime. This is a movie that merrily thumbs its nose at concepts like restraint and subtlety. It's a movie that commits 100% to its own premise, however silly that premise might be, and for that I have to salute and applaud it. Too many films make safe choices. This one is not afraid to be gonzo and absurd, and I think that was the right decision. After all, when you're filming from a script that goes to significant lengths to have a naval battle play out like an actual game of Hasbro's Battleship board game, there's not a lot of point in trying to play it safe and sensible. Better to just turn the volume up to 11, Spinal Tap style, and either crash through or just crash. Now, plenty of people thought the film just crashed, but I thoroughly enjoyed its shamelessly over-the-top plot, high-octane action, and willingness to just pile on more and more gonzo spectacle. The only other place I've seen this kind of just keep going bigger mentality exploited with such skill and success is in the best entries of the Fast and Furious franchise. What's especially interesting, though, is that under this surface level of exuberant action movie nonsense, it's possible to pick out the elements of a whole different film. It's not at all necessary to do so, mind you. It is perfectly possible to just watch Battleship as pure popcorn movie action extravaganza and enjoy it for the cheese-laden spectacle that it is, and it's a fun movie on that basis. But if you choose to look for hints of a more complex narrative, there are definitely sequences and scenes that support that search. Now, these could perhaps be accidental or a coincidence rather than deliberate hints of something more, but writers John and Eric Hober also scripted the action films Red and The Meg, which are both regarded as smarter than they seem bits of action hokery. And director Peter Berg's meticulous and discerning eye for scene construction makes me think he's not putting much on the screen that he's not absolutely intending to be there. I'm not going to delve into the details of these elements of the film, partly because, as I already said, you don't need to look for them to enjoy the movie, but also partly because looking for them and teasing out the possible interpretations is a pretty fun endeavour, not to mention a good excuse to rewatch the movie, which I have done several times. Now, despite this possible layer of extra content, Battleship remains most idiosyncratic and memorable for the wholehearted way it leaps into its scenario. For instance, many films, most famously the Rocky series, make use of montages, and also many use pounding rock songs to support those scenes. Battleship isn't content with just doing that, however. This is not a movie that does things by halves, as I said. It's the kind of movie, in fact, that unleashes a montage that runs for the entire length of AC/DC's high-energy rock hit Thunderstruck. Not only that, but the composition and selection throughout this scene of shots and dialogue and sound design are all seamlessly integrated with the tune's infectious beat and energizing tempo. It's an astonishingly smart and deeply thought out bit of cinematic nonsense. And it is, absolute nonsense. But it's really clever nonsense. And just in case the hard rock montage wasn't enough by itself, the 2-minute sequence leading up to it may be the single goofiest, most melodramatic hokum ever put to film. Yes, even more so than the montage itself, which truly is saying something. And I love every dang unashamedly over the top second of it. It is just gleeful nonsense of the finest kind, in my opinion. So yeah, I think Battleship is great fun. If you've never seen it, you should go watch it. Better yet, watch it with friends. I think you'd be surprised by how much fun you have. Next time, a fine cast do their best to make something of the reheated leftovers of other films that seem to comprise the script for 2009's Push. But that is indeed next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.